Hey students, I hope you're okay. This week we're gonna work on word problems for two-step equations. Now we're gonna do some review and stuff. So this is the previous week before your last week of school. So this week we're gonna focus on just solving equations, but then we're gonna incorporate some word problems like two-step equations. All right, so I'm gonna give you some examples, and then I'm gonna put this in as your assignment. Some of these problems. So let's do number one. So it says Nancy sold half. So we know that half is written like this, right? Half of her comic books, and then bought eight more. Eight more meaning plus eight. We're thinking about different things, right? So we have half of her comic books. We also then she additional, like there's an addition to her comic books there with eight more. She now has 12. So the total sounds like this. This right here sounds like the total. I remember how I told you that I like to work to find the result first, and that would be equals and then that number. That helps me kind of form the equation better. And then my question is, how many did she begin with? So if she sold half of her books, that would be half of X. We don't know how many she had. So we can start by doing that. So that's half of X, and X represents how many she began with. How many did she have? So beginning books, right? So then she sold half of them, and then she bought eight more. So plus eight. And then she has now 12. So equals 12. And that's how I know, that's how I form my equation. All right, so now I solve it. Now, this is step one that you have to do in this assignment. I want to see the equation. The second step will be the result. Let's solve it. So minus 8, that goes away. 12 minus 8 is 4. And then 1/2, I bring this down. So 1/2 of 4. And then I use the reciprocal to get rid of this one on this side. And then whatever I do on one side, I do it on the other one, right? So that goes away. And then x equals 2 times 4 is 8 over 1, which is 8. That is my answer right there. Okay? All right. So I'm going to ask you to write the equation, and then I'm going to ask you to write the answer. Okay? All right, let's do number 2. So x equals 4. So what's x equals 4? So she began with 8 books. 8 books. That's the answer. Okay. So let's do Oceanside Bike. So number 2. Oceanside Bike Rental Shop charges $15 fixed fee. So they have to pay $15 no matter what, plus an additional $9 per hour. So an hour for renting a bike. So it's so we're gonna have, okay, so 15. I'm gonna write it here so you have, I kind of use all the space there. So we 15, we have a fee of 15 plus a fee of $9 per hour. We don't know how many hours it's gonna be used, because the question asks how many hours did he pay to have the out. Now he paid $87 at the end, so there was a total. So now so let's use H as hours. So H is hours, and then equals how much he paid at the end, which is $87. Now to solve that equation, let's solve it here. So that's 15 plus 9 times H equals 87, and then you divide. Sorry, that was my phone. And then you subtract 15 minus 15, that goes away. 9h equals 87 minus 15 is 72. And then you divide by 9, and then your answer is h equals 8, so 8 hours. Okay. All right. So first thing, We wrote our equation. Next thing, we have our answer. That's what I want from you. All right, let's do number 3 on number 3. Number 3 is kind of like number 1. We're talking about halves and all that. So Sarah spent half of her allowance going to the movies. She washed the family car and earned $8. So in addition, right, we talk about something adding to. What is her weekly allowance if she ended up with $12? That sounds like the total. So let's write it down. So we want to know the weekly allowance. So I'm going to use A, or you can use X. It doesn't matter. So she spent half of it, but we don't know how much it is. So half of X plus 8, right? Plus $8 equals 12, right? Because that's what we're looking for, the total. So then we saw this is my first answer, which is my equation. And then I'm going to solve that. So 1/2 times x plus 8 equals 12 minus 8, that's 4. That's actually the same thing that we're going to get here, right? The first one. So that is 1/2 times x equals 4. You multiply by the reciprocal, and then that goes away. X equals 2 times 4 is 8 over 1, which is 8. And that is my answer, 8. 8 what? $8, right? Because we're talking about in context. So you guys need to put your units. You gotta remember how to do that. All right. So first, I find my equation. I write my equation. Second, I have my answer. So two things, equation and answer. Now I'm gonna, there's a few examples here that are similar to like in number 7, like the sum of 3 consecutive numbers. I'm gonna do one of those so you guys know what to do. All right, so on number 7, it says the sum of 3 consecutive odd numbers. So odd numbers would be what? 1, 3, 5, right? Those are odd numbers. The sum of 3, we don't know which 3. It doesn't matter which 3 is because we're talking about 3 that add up to something. And it says that the sum of 3 consecutive odd numbers is so equal 111. So what is the smallest of the 3 numbers? The first thing that we got to do is think about how do we know which. So if you count odd numbers, you count by 2, right? So 1 and then plus, so the ones in between, right? So 1, 3, 5, 7. They add up by 2. They increase by 2, right? So we can start by saying x, the first one, but there are three of them, 3 consecutive numbers right here, 3 consecutive numbers, odd numbers. So they increase by 2 if you see. So then the first number would be x plus the second number would be x plus 2, right? Now the third number would be x plus 4, right? Because that's the next one. That's the next one after that, right? And then that sum would be 111. That's what it's saying. So that's the first number, the second number, the third number. That's 3. Now you solve this. Now we combine how many x's we have. That's 1, 2, 3. So 3 x's, right? And then we just add the numbers 2 plus 4. So that's 6 equals 111. Now we get rid of this 6, so minus 6, and then it's 3x, right? That goes away. 3x minus 105, and then we divide by 3, and that is, which is number 7, x equals 35. This is the smallest of the 3 consecutive numbers. That adds up to 111. All right. The other ones that like number 8, it's very similar to do. Number 10 is very similar to do. So be careful with this one. It's just check out, how many numbers you're adding to. So like in this case, we said every 2 numbers. So 1 plus 2 is 3. So see how it increases by 2. So that's where we got to check. All right. So number 9, I'm going to do number 9 for you guys, and then you guys keep going. So on number 9, it says, on Monday, 373 students went on a trip to the zoo. All 7 buses were filled and 9 students had to travel in cars. So plus 9, right? Plus 9 students, right? Yeah. And then that the total sounds like it is 373, right? And then how many students were in each bus? So, well, we can use bus like for B, right? Like we can say 7 students, 7 buses, and we need to know how many students. So let's use S as students. All right. So that would give us how much? Now this is multiplying, right? Because there's 7 buses and how many students? Plus 9 students that drove in a car, and this is a total that got to the zoo. Now let's solve for that. So that's my first step, which is writing the equation, and then I'm solving. 3s plus 9 equals 373 minus 9 that goes away, and then 7s equals, and then that's 362. Let's see, I'm using my calculator. Minus 9, 364, and then I divide by 7, and then s equals 52 students, right? All right, and that's my second step, which is writing the number of, I mean the answer. First step, second step. All right, I did 2 things here. I wrote the equation, then I have the answer. The equation, then I have the answer. Equation, I have an answer. This is very, very, very important. All right, guys. So this is gonna be your assignment, the ones that I didn't do. If you have any questions, please let me know.